In the history of war, there are battles that change the course of a conflict. And then there are battles that just obliterate an army in a single afternoon. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute bloodiest and most tragic days in the history of South America.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a powerful, formidable army get completely wiped out in just a few hours? We are going to break down exactly what happened in May of 1866 during the War of the Triple Alliance at a place called Estero Bellaco.
First things first, to really get what happened, you have to understand the battlefield itself. And this wasn't just some random piece of land. Oh no, this was a natural fortress. It was basically a weapon that gave the Paraguayan defenders a huge advantage.
Just try to picture crossing this. The source material says the reeds grew just inches apart, making this dense wall. And underneath all that, you've got 3 to 6 feet of water covering a deep, thick mire. The only way you're getting through is on these tiny, narrow paths they'd cleared, which, would basically turn any attacking army into sitting ducks. This swamp, this was the heart of the Paraguayan defense.
So this is the situation in late April 1866. It's a total stalemate. You've got the Paraguayans dug in on their side of the swamp, and the Allied forces, that's Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, on the other. The Allied vanguard, their forward unit, was led by a guy named General Flores. The Paraguayans even had 50 elite riflemen whose only job was to pick off Allied officers. The stage was absolutely set for something brutal.
Well, that standoff wasn't going to last. The Paraguayans decided, let's strike first. And they launched this incredibly daring surprise attack. And for a moment, it was a brilliant success, but as we're about to see, it held the seeds of a much, much bigger disaster.
So on May 2nd, the Paraguayan leader, Francisco Solano Lopez, gives the order. He sends 5,000 men, 4,000 infantry and 1,000 cavalry, to hit the Allied forward positions. They snaked through those swampy passes before the enemy even had a clue they were coming.
And for the Allies, it was just complete chaos. The Paraguayans totally overran their vanguard camp. They captured artillery, they captured supplies, they even took the personal tent of the Allied commander, General Flores. It was a brilliant, lightning-fast victory.
And the fighting, it was unbelievably ferocious. The source describes the Uruguayan vanguard as being completamente acuchillados, literally completely cut to pieces. But it says their commanders fought like lions, only getting overwhelmed by the sheer number of attackers. Okay, so right here, this is the moment. The Paraguayan commander, General Diaz, he's won. The raid is a success. All he has to do is pull his men back with all the cannons and supplies they've captured. But he doesn't. He makes the fatal choice to keep pushing forward, right into the main body of the Allied army that was now scrambling into the fight. And that one decision, it cost them everything. What started as his genius raid turned into a brutal, head-on slugfest. And look at the numbers. Both sides lost around 2,300 men. That brilliant Paraguayan victory, it just evaporated into a bloody, pointless tie.
All right, let's hop over to the Allied camp for a second, because believe me, things were not going smoothly over there. In fact, their entire command structure was basically on the verge of falling apart, full of finger-pointing and resentment.
This is incredible. Just one day after his unit was nearly wiped out, General Flores writes this absolutely furious letter to his wife. And he puts the blame for the whole disaster squarely on the shoulders of the Allied commander-in-chief, General Mitter. This wasn't just some minor disagreement. This was a massive crack in their leadership.
Flores' letter is just a laundry list of frustrations. He basically calls Mitre an armchair general, obsessed with mathematical calculations and pointless ceremonies, all while his men are starving. He claims the Brazilian troops just ran away, and then, to top it all off, he complains that Mitre even had the nerve to criticize how he dressed in the field. It paints a picture of a command that is in total chaos.
So, back on the Paraguayan side, Lopez is seeing all this Allied disunity, and maybe he's feeling a little overconfident after that first attack. So he decides to do something crazy, abandon his perfect defensive position for one massive all-or-nothing gamble. This is the trigger point. Lopez gets some intelligence that the Allies are planning their own major assault for May 25th. He later said he, quote, frankly did not like their plan. So he makes this monumental decision to hit them first with an overwhelming attack of his own on May 24th.
And the plan he came up with was, well, it was massive. A huge, simultaneous assault across the entire Allied line. We're talking over 20,000 men thrown into the attack,
with cavalry wings supposed to sweep around and hit the enemy from behind. On paper, it was incredibly audacious, maybe even decisive.
But a plan on paper is one thing. The reality? That was something else entirely. The Battle of Tuyuti on May 24, 1866, wasn't going to be a glorious victory. It was about to become the single bloodiest day in the history of South America.
So why did it go so horribly wrong? Well, think about it. The Paraguayans gave up every single advantage they had. They were attacking an enemy that was dug in and ready for them. Most of their own soldiers had old flintlock muskets, while the Allies had modern, more accurate rifles. And the real killer? The Paraguayans charged forward with almost no artillery support, straight into the face of devastating Allied cannon fire.
The result was just a slaughterhouse. As the Paraguayan center column tried to cross that same swampy ground, they were just mowed down. The source uses this chilling phrase to describe the scene. The swamp was literally filled with corpses.
By 4 o'clock that afternoon, it's all over. The Paraguayan army wasn't just beaten, it was gone. It was destroyed. The scale of this catastrophe, it's just hard to wrap your head around.
6,000 Paraguayan soldiers were killed in just a few hours. Another 7,000 were wounded. In one afternoon, Lopez had lost the entire core of his professional army.
But this next number, this is what really tells the story. Out of 13,000 casualties, the Allies took only 350 prisoners, and every single one of them was already wounded. The Paraguayans just would not surrender. They fought to the absolute last man.
And this incredible, almost fanatical bravery is perfectly captured in this one story. A wounded sergeant, he can't fight anymore, but he uses his dying moments to try and destroy his unit's flag with his teeth, just so it couldn't be taken as a trophy. It's just this image of unbelievable defiance in the face of total annihilation.
In the immediate aftermath, the denial is just staggering. Lopez actually ordered military bands to play all night long to create the illusion of a celebration. And the grim reality of the defeat, it was disposed of in the most horrific way imaginable. Thousands of bodies were burned in huge pyres, with one Allied soldier grimly noting that the Paraguayan dead were too thin to burn well.
So that leaves us with this one. Massive, mind-boggling question. The professional army of Paraguay was gone, destroyed in a single catastrophic gamble. The defeat was absolute. So how, against all possible odds, did this war go on for 4 more bloody years? Well, that is a story for another time.